Hello, everyone, and today we're going to be talking about smart objects. Smart objects are one of the most powerful features in Photoshop. They allow for non destructive scaling and resizing, preserving image quality even after multiple transformations. Smart objects also store image data from various image types, including those created in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. They preserve the original image content and quality, allowing you to modify it without permanently altering it. So first, we will be downloading our example photo for this lesson, which is Book with White Hardcover by Monstera Production. Open it in Photoshop. There are many ways to create an embedded smart object. By default, files that are dragged in from Finder or File Explorer are embedded as a smart object layer. Here's a list of some other ways you can create a smart object layer. You can convert a selected layer into a smart object by right-clicking on this layer and then clicking Convert to Smart Object. If you select multiple layers with Shift, Command, or Control, then you can bundle these into one smart object by selecting all of those and then right-clicking on those layers and selecting Convert to Smart Object. To import files as smart object into an open Photoshop document, select File, Place Embedded, like one of the options we've introduced earlier in the semester. To create a new file with a smart object as the first layer, select File, Open as Smart Object. To add vector artwork or objects while keeping them editable, drag the PDF or Adobe Illustrator layers or objects into the Photoshop document. To keep Illustrator artwork editable in Photoshop, paste it into the document and then select Edit and Paste and select Smart Object in the Paste dialog box. To import a file as a smart object into an open Photoshop document in Bridge, you want to select File, then Place in Photoshop. When you create a smart object, the layer thumbnail gains an icon of something like a piece of paper with a square, like the example you'll see on the screen. Double-clicking the smart object thumbnail will open up the smart object as a new document in Photoshop where you can edit its contents. To resize smart objects, activate the free transform tool by pressing Ctrl+T on Windows or Command+T on Mac. Or you can use the move tool with show transform controls on. Resize the image like any other by dragging the corner handles. The magic of smart objects lies in their non-destructive nature. Even with extreme scaling, the image will maintain its original resolution and quality, ensuring your designs always look sharp and crisp. For example, if you were to ordinarily scale a image to be really small and then confirm the scaling and then resize it really big, it would get really blurry because it lost all that data. But with a smart object, it doesn't lose that data. The data is stored elsewhere. And so when you make it large again, the data comes back from the original file. So one of the most common uses for smart objects is to use them as part of a composite image. Here are some techniques for positioning and blending your smart object within a composite. You use the Move tool to position the smart object within the desired area of the composite. Then utilize the free Transform tool to scale, rotate, and adjust the perspective of the smart object to match the composition. Then you can create a selection of the area where the smart object should appear. Then click on the Layer Mask icon at the bottom of the Layers panel to create a mask that restricts the visibility of the smart object to the selected area. So let's actually put this into effect. For example, when you put together your portfolio, one of the best ways to represent your work is through mockups, or images put together in Photoshop or similar programs that show your work within context. This can give your work a sense of physical placement in the world and can help make it feel more real rather than just a concept. There are two main ways that I've created mockups in the past, through using selections and by using shapes. In this assignment, we'll be focusing on using shapes since that was the last assignment. However, don't be afraid to experiment with using selections. And if you want to learn more about that process, let me know and I'll cover it in a later lesson. First off, let's use the Shape tool to create a rectangle over the book cover in the photo we have open. We know the size of the book cover and that we want to represent. So click once to open up the Shape dialog and enter in 5.25 inches wide and 8 inches tall. Once you've created the rectangle, right-click on the Shape layer and select Convert to Smart Object. This will make our shape into a smart object. You might notice that despite the book in the photo appearing to be a perfect rectangle, with our actually perfect rectangle on top of it, we can see that the book is slightly off. Now let's fix that. And we're going to fix it by editing our perfect rectangle, to be clear. Navigate to Edit, Transform, and then select Distort, and then move the corner anchors of the rectangle to cover the corners of the book. Zoom out and set your rectangle's blending mode to multiply once you've done this. This will allow you to see any space on the book that you need to cover with the rectangle, or any space where you overshot and cover too much of the table. Once you're happy with your rectangle, double-click on the rectangle's layer preview. This will open up a new document in Photoshop named the same as your smart object. In my case, it's called rectangle1.psb. Navigate over to that document. This new document should just be your rectangle for now. With the rectangle layer selected, scroll down in the Properties menu to find the corner radius section. Set the corner radius to around 7 pixels. This is because the corners of the book in the photo, they aren't a perfect point. They're a bit worn around the edges. This will replicate that sort of worn. Now, import your book cover project into this smart object file. If you don't have a book cover project to use for whatever reason, feel free to use my example book cover linked in the Canvas assignment. Because we created our rectangle at the exact size of our book cover project, it should slot in perfectly. If it doesn't, use the transform tool to ensure that it fits best as possible. When you're happy with the placement of your book cover, right-click on the book cover layer and select Create Clipping Mask. This will clip the book cover image to your rectangle, allowing the book cover image to have the slight corner rounding that we set up earlier. Then press Ctrl+S on Windows or Command+S on Mac to save your smart object. Now let's navigate back over to our mockup file. You should now see your book cover visible on the book in the photo. If you haven't set the rectangle smart objects blending mode to multiply yet, do so now. Since the base book is white, setting the above layer to multiply allows the mockup to simply take on the texture and shading of the original book, grounding it even further in this scene. Now, you can do some final touch-ups if you desire. I'm going to apply a color fill adjustment layer above both existing layers and set it to a warm sort of sunlight yellow. I'm then going to set this adjustment layer's blending mode to soft light and set the opacity to around 15%. This will give a slight color cast to the entire scene and improves how the scene feels complete. A little bit of that color harmony I talk about fairly frequently. Now, if you've completed all that, excellent job. I hope this has given you a pretty decent understanding of how smart objects work and gives you an example of how you can really use them in real life. Now we're going to submit this assignment. We're going to follow the same submission protocol we've been doing this whole semester. So name this file your first name, last name, and then smartobjectsassignment.psd. For example, mine would be Susie Crane smartobjectsassignment.psd. Then I want you to place this file within the assignments folder in your AVC 177 Google Drive folder. Then I want you to get the link to either that specific file or to that folder and then paste that link within the Canvas submission box. Then simply submit the assignment and you'll be finished with this assignment. I hope you all have a great day, and I believe it's spring break next week, so I hope you have a fantastic spring break, and don't worry about any assignments over the break because I want you guys to just have some time off to reset your brains. And I will see you after everything, and I hope you have a great time.